So today we're going to be taking a look at some of the worst car payments I could find on TikTok. Some of these are absolutely disgraceful. I don't know how a normal person can see the amount they pay for a car and go, yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this car and pay this much monthly. Now, a lot of these clips are from America because America, cars over there, one, they're a bit more of a necessity in most places, and two, they are definitely way more expensive. I don't know whether it's they have more disposable income or they just feel more confident and they'll be able to pay off the payments, but some of the payments over there are absolutely insane. Of course, we do have some related to the UK as well, because I feel like slowly but surely the UK is getting to the point where a lot of people are paying insane payments here as well. I think £400-500 a month some people are paying for cars, and when it comes to the more luxury ones, probably even double that. So you guys let me know how much your car payment is if you need a car. Obviously I don't need a car, so I don't have one, so mine is zero. I can't imagine having such an anchor of a payment once you have all your bills as well. But without further ado, we're gonna get into it. Let's go.
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
Just short of $2,700 a month. But every morning I have to decide if I'm going to drive the Tahoe Premier or the M4 Competition X-Drive.
What?
Excuse me. Bro said he pays $2,700 a month in dollars. What is that in pounds? What, 2,400 a month? I mean, I know one thing about car dealerships. They get probably preyed on just as much as they try to prey on customers with some of these. Like, they're probably the biggest customers of cars ever. You're around it all day. You're probably under a lot more peer pressure to get a nice car. Because I guess if it's your profession, you feel more, more obligated. But that much, he's got 2 cars, bro. I mean, maybe he was the one of the managers or the leader or the owner, whatever. But wow, I had 2 luxury cars, by the way. M4 is very, very expensive.
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
$1,342, wow. And I drive a Silverado 3500E.
Another thing about Americans, they all love a truck. Like, I went over there, I saw so many of these pickup trucks everywhere, and they are extremely expensive for sure. I mean, I don't understand why you'd need a pickup truck unless you're like a farmer or, you work in construction or you just need a big vehicle to haul stuff around. Why else would you need a pickup truck? I mean, people say because of safety. I don't think pickup trucks are more safe. Probably based on like insurance, they probably cost more to insure because more people get into crashes and stuff with them. But insane amount of money. That's a rent payment, bro. That's more than the rent I pay a month.
Got a question for you. What's your car payment and what do you drive?
$700 a month. I drive a Chevy Silverado half-ton.
Another one.
2 RST with a 3-liter diesel.
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
I drive a 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500 Black Widow, and my car payment's $610 a month.
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
Oh God! My car payment's $420 a month, and I drive a 2021 Chevy Bolt.
What's your car?
I mean, that one was a bit more reasonable. The other 2 guys with the pickup trucks, like what, 610 and like 700, still a lot. That's probably about what, £550 to £600 a month. That guy, I mean, that Chevy Volt looks very ugly, bro, and it looks like you could probably get an equivalent car for a lot less. Like, obviously these people must work at the Chevrolet dealership, but still, do they get a discount on like the deposit or something? I don't understand why they just feel the need to spend that much on a car, especially the Volt. That Volt is so ugly. Like, surely you could get something better for cheaper.
Car payment and what do you drive?
I drive a 2025 Equinox Active, and my car payment is $293 a month.
I mean, the last one is pretty reasonable, to be fair. $293 a month, what, £250 a month? That's actually quite decent for the size of car they have. Yeah, 1 out of what, 7 people having a reasonable car payment. So this is going to be a more UK related one. This guy's going to be talking about how a finance car can really just be a absolute anchor to your finances. I mean, I know when I had a mobile phone, in fact, it was this one here that I have now, iPhone 14 Pro Max. When I upgraded to this, I think the payment plus the payment plan for the data was about $73 a month, which for 2 years, that shit is anchored there, taking money from your account every single month. And feeling when you get free of that payment is so nice as well. But without further ado, let's listen to him.
Having a financed car is one of the biggest reasons why people in the UK are struggling financially. The average monthly car finance payment is nearly £400 a month.
£400 a month. £400 a month for a financed car. Now, the thing about America and the UK, I think used cars in the US are a lot more expensive than here. Like, I'm not sure exactly the reason why UK used cars are cheaper. Probably because we aren't left-hand drive, we're right-hand drive, and there's like a handful of countries that drive like that, so you can't even like export cars from here without probably paying a lot to export to, like, what, India maybe? I know Cyprus drives on the right. There's not too many countries that drive on the right hand side of the road, so I guess that's why used cars are a bit cheaper.
£400. Now, every time I create a video on the subject, I get the same responses. I can't afford to buy a second-hand car. Second-hand cars aren't reliable, and you don't know my financial situation. You don't know what it's like. It's not easy. So
I know he's going to address this, but one, I can't afford a second-hand car. Mate, you know you can actually also finance second-hand cars on like Auto Trader as well for a lot cheaper. So buying a brand new car, don't forget the depreciation that comes with cars as well. Buying a car, like a 2025 car, in next year it's probably going to lose 5-10,000 of its value. over 2 years, it loses what, 30% or something. It's gonna lose a lot. So you could buy a 2-year-old car, still gonna be pretty good for a lot less. You're gonna have to eat that absolute depreciation.
Car. Second-hand cars aren't reliable, and you don't know my financial situation. You don't know what it's like.
Also, second-hand cars not being reliable. I mean, there's some. I mean, if you're gonna go for their luxury BMWs, Mercedes, sure, when they start getting higher up in miles, they might not be great, and they may still cost a lot. But you can drive a Honda, bro. You can drive a Mazda, a Lexus. These are all pretty reliable cars. Toyota. You know, you don't have to go for a luxury brand. Well, that's probably what people are thinking.
Not easy. So let's work through them. Second-hand cars aren't reliable. What does your brand new car become as soon as you drive it? A second-hand car. Weirdly, you think it's a reliable car. Can you not see the flaw in this logic? The argument of not being able to afford a lump sum payment to buy a second-hand car is the one I probably understand the most. And there's no getting away from the fact that you're probably going to have to sacrifice a little bit to start with to get yourself out of this financing cycle. Maybe that means getting a shitter first car. Maybe it means trying to get more income so that you can put more aside to save up and then buy a car outright. And that £400 that you're putting towards a financed car or whatever it is that you're paying, you can then set that aside and put it towards an upgraded car. And there's nobody telling you when you can and can't do this. You can do it every year. You can do it every 6 months if you want to. And yes, finally, I do not know your financial situation. But what I do know, universally, the one thing that can change everybody's situation for the better is not having a car payment going out every single month so that you've got more money to spend on things that you need and want.
Pretty much hit the nail on the head very well there. Like, I think that's one thing he touched on, was people would rather not save up a little bit more so you get the down payment. So let's say you're buying a new car. Yeah, it could be £400-500 a month, right? And you may have a little bit of a down payment because you do still need to put a deposit down, right? So let's say you want to buy a used car, it's $5,000. To get a new car, you got to put a 2K deposit and then you put $500 a month. Yeah, you may have to save for another 3, 4, 5 months to get to that $5,000. But that car's now paid off in total, and it's not going to be anchoring you down. I think it just leads to this whole thing where we live in this world now where everything can be at your doorstep tomorrow. So you could probably order a car online and be able to pick it up within the next few days, if not tomorrow, right? Same with Amazon, same with all these things. So people, they realize, wait, I could put all of this on credit cards, I could put all of this on monthly payments, so not have to worry about the total amount of money coming out of my account. I might not have the total amount now, but if I put it on payments, I could get it now. I could get something better. When in reality, they think about the short term, not the long term. I think that's a big problem with finances today, just people just thinking, oh, I could get this right now, rather than waiting before they can actually afford it.
Did you know that 47% of people and families in the US have an SUV truck? And it's funny because you'll hear them say something like, oh, it's to carry my boat, or it's to help my family travel around the country, and they've literally got one kid in the back of their car.
You know what that is? It's just justifying why you should do something, right? And now before I try to buy stuff, I try to think of all the reasons why I would actually need it, because there's a lot of monthly things you could get, right? There's even bank accounts, credit cards that charge a monthly fee, and they do give you some nice benefits, right? But if you're not going to take full advantage of those benefits, then you're not actually going to be getting value from that. So yeah, sure, having a bigger car might be good if you plan on having multiple kids and you'll need a bigger car, or if you have a job or whatever that requires it. But if you're not going to do that, and it's just you're using a kid as an excuse to get a bigger car, or you may buy a boat because you have a bigger car. I think that's a lot of people do the cause and effect thing. Like, well, now I have a bigger car, I can do this. Well, would you have done it? Do you actually want that? Or are you just using that as an excuse to justify your thought, you know?
I mean, who needs 7 or 8 seats just for one child? But in all seriousness, the reason I'm saying this is because the biggest payments and the biggest monthly expense you're going to be paying is your house and your car. And I don't want this to happen to people in the UK. I don't want us to get bright-eyed when we see a new 24 plate, which is happening quite a lot at the moment.
I think we're already there, bro. I think we've already got to that point, and we've been there for a while. I mean, I see a lot of, when I walk around the streets, I see a lot of Audis, Mercedes, BMW, brand new ones as well. And this isn't necessarily in affluent areas. This is all over the place. People will happily buy a new car because, look, the monthly payment seems affordable, right? £400-500 a month, even though the interest rate's probably eating your ass, and then you have all of the weight it puts on you, right, in terms of earning. If you lose your job, you ain't going to be able to afford that car. I think we pretty much are there already with people just trying to get new cars because they want them, right? Especially in London. I don't know about the rest of the UK, but in London, it's definitely like that.
I'm seeing these new cars flying around everywhere, but then I've got people complaining that they can't afford things when they've got this brand new car. I mean, you've got to look at the big expenses, because although cutting back on coffee, cutting back on going out once a week, cutting back on eating out once a week, that might help you, but you've also got to dive deeper into your bigger expenses, like your rent, where you're living, the car you're driving. Do you really need that car? These are the real big things that are going to make a massive impact and actually going to move the needle with your finances. So when you...
Well, that's very true, because if you get a car that's £200-400 more than you can afford, I mean, that extra £200-400 is a lot more important than the £50 you spend a month on, you know, Netflix and whatever other subscriptions you have, or the £20 gym membership. You know what I mean? That extra money, which is obviously the big purchase, is a lot easier to have a lot more money tied up in that. So I do think people try to justify having a more expensive car by saying, you know, I'll cut back on the gym and Netflix and all this, when reality is your quality of life will now be a lot worse, but you'll drive a nicer car, which, you know, I don't think is a great trade-off. So by the way, that's an M3. Look how much that is a month. 1.1k. That's more than a fucking part-time job pays you, mate.
Is a BMW M3 with a monthly payment on finance of £1,099.
Who can pay that? I want to know.
This car isn't the monthly payment, and it isn't even
it's the insurance or the depreciation.
Everything else that comes with running the car. The biggest expense on this car is the opportunity cost of financing an M3.
That's a fair point. I was thinking it could be the added interest, right? Because you're paying 5% extra. Or it could just be the depreciation, that car is going to drop a lot of money. Of course, the opportunity cost. You could be spending that in other areas. You could be investing that money. You could be putting that in a savings account. You know what I mean? So, yeah, makes a good point.
Any other similarly priced car for that matter. And none of the car guys on TikTok are talking about this. No one ever mentions the opportunity cost of buying these expensive cars. But I'm big on opportunity cost, and it's something that I always do when I evaluate purchases that I'm about to make. And the reason it's so powerful, because let's imagine you're paying £1,099 a month. But let's imagine the year's 2020. Instead of financing this car, you've put that money instead into Nvidia stock. And let's say you were buying £1,000 worth of Nvidia stock every single month aggressively. What would that be worth now? It would be worth a lot more than the entire value of buying this car outright.
Well, sure, but Nvidia's a bad example because Nvidia had like record-breaking gains of like thousands of percent. That is not going to be the option. And the same people who make this bad decision, you think they're going to make sound decisions when it comes to investing? I think the message is right, but like, look, man, just put it in index funds, or if you're going to invest in stocks, just do your research, pick stocks you believe in. You need to actually do research when it comes to that, right? Because if you invest in the wrong stock at the wrong time, you're going to lose a lot of money. Like, I don't think putting that money in Nvidia right now is going to drive you insane gains, right? But of course, it is the right sentiment that you could definitely invest rather than burning this. You could drive a shitty car that you pay a couple hundred a month, or you buy outright, and it will serve you better in the long term for sure. And then when you have all that money, then you could buy this M3 outright one day, right?
Or let's say you were looking at buying a property in 2020 and this was the price of the mortgage every month, and you were able to
lucky you, that's the case,
in for a 5 or 10 year term. That means you'd be locked in at 1% when everyone else around you is now paying between 4 and 5%, meaning that you are saving hundreds, if not thousands of pounds every single month in interest. So I'm not telling anyone not to buy their dream car. I'm a big car guy. I love M3s, Porsches, etc. But just be sensible with it and always make sure you're looking at the opportunity cost of your purchase.
I don't understand when buying a dream car, like, I know he mentioned that. I don't know when that became a commonplace thing to do when you're like 20. That was like an aspirational goal, like when you get to your 40s, 50s later, like when you're closer to retirement, or when you've got money in the bank. When you're sorted, then maybe one day you could afford the Porsche or afford the Mercedes. Not when you're 21, but I think because of social media, everyone sees all these young influencers or people probably faking and flexing on TikTok or Instagram, wherever it may be, with all the cars that they don't actually own, that they lease. And these kids get FOMO, and then they're like, you know what, I can get this BMW. And now it's obviously accessible because they're like, only $1,000 a month? Well, I make $2,500 a month on my salary. What's 1,100 a month? I do think people need to get back to that long-term thinking rather than just thinking about what I can get now or tomorrow, you know? Now, this show from Caleb Hammer is hilarious. I've been watching it for so long, and some of the payments on this is absolutely insane. This guy, I don't know how he finds these people. I think they apply for a show, but fuck it. Like, mate, people just out here burning cash on cars. It's insane.
The minimum payment's $1,095.
$1,095, and that's on a Toyota. Like, that payment we just saw similarly in pounds. Obviously, this will be a little bit less because of the conversion, but for a Toyota, paying that much, insane. I don't understand. People just, do they not look at their finances? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's a minivan, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know those still existed.
We had the Sienna. The Sienna is the one that we got into the accident
What the
with,
hell is that?
and it got totaled.
This?
No, not this one. This is the new
It
one.
was a red one.
How did the insurance work for that? Did it pay off the remaining?
Yes, it paid off the remaining, but in November, we had gotten a Prius. Didn't work for our family.
Why'd you get the Prius then?
I mean, a Prius is fine for a family, unless you have about fucking more than 3 kids. What's wrong with the Prius? There's Priuses everywhere. All Uber drivers drive a Prius.
I tried to convince her to get the van, but I think she was emotionally distraught with the accident. And she was thinking, hey, this is different. We're going to save money with getting better gas mileage.
It was an electric Prius. This was a prime plug-in, so it did partially gas, but partially electric. The payment was lower, but 3 kids in the backseat of a Prius, not considering my child being 5'3" and 160 pounds. So
5'3" isn't that tall.
I was going to say 5'3". 5'3", buddy. Like, what?
160 pounds between a car seat and a booster seat doesn't work.
Send him to the front.
Yeah, I promise you it does. When we were kids, we used to all squeeze into the back, like 5 of us. You know, not legal, but like, yo, if you're going like 10 minutes, it used to be the thing. You could fit a bunch of people in the back of a car if you... Look, just firm it. Just firm it. How often are you going places with all 5 of you? You know what I mean? So kind of crazy that they're like, you know what, he doesn't fit. And is 160 pounds a normal weight for a kid? I mean, I'm not going to fat shame a kid, but it's kind of mad. That's the excuse. I mean, people use any excuse to justify their bad purchases, and that was just a prime example. Because even in the comments, you have a bunch of people saying, look, no Toyota is worth, well, Roth, but worth 1,000. These people got 3 kids, they drive a Hyundai. You don't need a minivan for kids. I mean, it's just justifying your bad behavior, really, at the end of the day.
I want to give you guys a realistic example of what payments look like on a $75,000 car.
Was it going to be a
Case,
BMW?
we're gonna use this M8 competition that I have in stock. This car is damn near exactly $75,000.
Wow.
Crazy thing is, I have an S-Class that's right next to it. This car is probably in the same range too. You guys.
How is an S-Class worth the same as the as they say M8? I mean, I guess it's the sportier version. S-Class is meant to be the top of the line Mercedes luxury. Like, what? Okay.
5.0 over there. Now,
Maybe
keep
it's
in
older.
mind, when you borrow $50,000, that means your payment's going to be in the ballpark of $1,000. Now this car is $75,000.
So 1.5.
Let's see what the payment looks like. So we have everything plugged in, $75,000 car financing for 70.
This looks like one of those compound interesting sites where you check how much compound interest your investments are going to make. In this case, it's how much you're going to lose on interest.
2 months, 6.5% rate paid off early if you want. No money out of pocket. Your total payment amounts to $1,377 a month, and this is with no money down.
Look how much it is. $99,000 on a $75,000 car, and it's not even brand new, is it? Crazy work. You're paying $17,000 in interest. $17,000 in interest extra is absolutely insane. People are just burning money, bro.
6.5% rate. If you were to keep this car for the entire loan, you'd be paying $17,000 in interest. If you were to put $20,000 down on this car, your payment would still be over $1,000 a month. So when you see these nice cars,
so if you put a 20k deposit down on that 75k, you're already putting what, 20, I think it's 27% down already. So that's crazy. How does it still end up being 95,000? I mean, I guess your monthly payment decreases. That's why it's still the same. That's probably the trick they use, right? Rather than keeping the monthly payment the same, if you put more down, your monthly payment decreases, but you know, the interest stays the same and they try and keep you longer. That's probably the whole game of it. How long can I keep these people? Because we do be seeing some of these car payments be lasting 6-7 years now.
on the road, just know that whoever owns that car is probably making a crazy payment or they paid cash for it. And these terms are based off of financing over 72 months. Some people finance for 48 or 60 months, so the payments...
And that's what I'm saying. 4 or 5 years. That's crazy. You're just losing more and more money. I think most people who flex in these cars are the ones who don't have money. And they think that driving a Mercedes or a BMW is going to give them some kind of... People look at them. People just look at the car, though. Like, no one looks who's driving the Lamborghini. People just look at the Lamborghini, really.
How much did you guys put down? Zero. How much are you guys paying per month?
What? 287 months. That can't be real. That can't be real. The comments are saying that's a 24-year loan. I have to do the maths myself on that. There's no way. This cannot be real. That is literally 24 years. That's 23.9 years. For a Mercedes C300 C-Class, really?
580. How long are you guys financing for?
For 287 months.
All right. Congratulations for the Mercedes C300.
Oh, he's going to calculate it for us. Fair enough. $166,000 for that car? How much is it worth? Oh, he's going to show us as well. Very cool. A C300 is worth... Was that brand new? Brand new. It was in Australian dollars, but brand new. They're paying more. That doesn't look like the brand new one, but whatever. This is a few years old, but still. Insane. Who's paying that? Who's paying that? At some point, you have to say they're being taken advantage of, but I guess if you sign the papers, it's your fault, but really and truly insane work.
Now, I am not rich enough to buy this car outright, so I decided to finance this car, and I took a 48-month term, and I pay £425 per month
That's
for this
crazy.
car. I put £3,000 down, and I also have a balloon payment of just over £10,000. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a balloon payment is, it's basically on a PCP car finance deal. At the end of the term, you have a balloon payment where you can choose to either pay it and the car is yours, or you could potentially finance the balloon payment again, and then at the end of that finance period, the car is yours. Or you could either sell the car and you can either pay the difference if there is any negative equity, or you might potentially be in positive equity, get some money out, and then...
Yeah, let's not pretend that most people are in positive equity with their cars, mate. Literally no one is, because most cars absolutely drop like a rock in water, mate. They go downhill so quickly in value.
Lastly, you could also just give the car back to the financer and get rid of it completely, but then you wouldn't see any money back off of that if there is any positive equity. Now,
so this guy, I don't know, he's talking about balloon payments and all this, getting very confusing. But let's just take a look at the comments, right? Because I think this is it. So here we have a guy saying, what's your current rate? He's paying 9% on top of that, 425. So he's 9% going to interest. Plus, when that term is finished, when that 4 years is finished, I think he has to pay an extra 10,000 on top of it. Insane. This guy here, I think this is pretty sound advice. Buy a car you can afford. This guy said there's no fun in that. Well, my man's not going to be looking very good at his finances in the next few years if that's his lookout. And then you have a bunch of people, you know, just kind of doing the maths on his car, right, and just saying, look, you made a bad decision. Obviously, bro is very content with his car. I just wouldn't do that, because I feel like these are the same type of people that will complain about cost of living at the end of the day, right? We've seen it on the channel. We've broken down some of the cost of living. Yes, it is very high in the UK, but if you're doing this, you're adding this payment to yourself. You're doing it to yourself, really and truly. So
most people driving a nice car are broke in the UK. The average UK
very true.
PCP is £400 per month, and they're doing
that's the average. The average person paying £400 a month in the UK, and in the US, it's probably even higher.
Probably just to show off. I don't know who to, because I'm not impressed. Real wealth whispers, and you'll find that in a book called The Millionaire Next Door, done in the US, a study of a whole load of millionaires. They realized the average car that people had was a 10-year-old Honda Accord or Civic. I can't remember. It's looking at all.
I think it's just a thing. Most millionaires do not want to be flexing their wealth, especially people with a lot of wealth. I think mainly the flexing comes from athletes or people who are in the public eye. Celebrities, they flex their wealth. Regular people who make a lot of money don't just go out here driving BMWs, because obviously, as we know, lifestyle creep.
An alternative. So if you've got a 40-year working career and you decide to PCP a car for that whole time frame, you're going to be putting £400 a month into a depreciating asset, and in 40 years time you'll have absolutely nothing to show for it. If you were to take that £400 per month and put it into the market, I know that sounds harder than it is, but there's everything that you need to know to get started on this channel and in the newsletter, one-page free download in my...
I mean, you could technically make the argument that if you pay the whole thing up front, you could have invested that elsewhere, but then I guess it depends on your interest rate on the... Honestly, just buy cars you can afford. That's the real takeaway.
A hell of a lot of people...
Well, no one really thinks in long term. They think of what this car going to do for me now, right? So...
Don't listen to this, and they'll continue to finance their car, and it will be costing them a fortune. It's costing them millions. It's stopping them becoming a millionaire because they want to show off to people. Now, if that's not for you, you know how to get started.
This guy forgets that that's boring, brother. Investing is boring. You know, investing properly is boring. Having a brand new Audi is not boring. You know, your friends will give you a high five and ask for a ride, and then not give a fuck the next day about it, and your bank account will be hurting for the next 5 years. That's kind of how it goes. So this guy said he's going to break down the average cost for us to see how much it costs to run a car, and let's go.
Here are the average costs to run a car every year in the UK. First up, we have the car's depreciation at £1,391. Petrol and diesel comes in at £889. Car insurance, and
that's dependent on how much you drive. If you drive more, it's going to cost more, obviously.
Wait for it. It's now at £796 a year. Taxes at £175. Repairs average people £472 a year. And finally, products like antifreeze cost people around a £5.
That's miscellaneous there.
Total of £3,728 a year to run your car. Remember, it is an average, but do let me know if you pay more or less than an average. Remember, it is an average £128 a year.
Well, there you have it. That is the average cost to run a car in the UK. That is insane. I'm assuming in London it's a little bit more expensive to run a car. But think about it, almost 4,000 a year. Almost 4,000 a year. Let's see what that is a month. Let's just say 311 because 310.666. But Imagine £311. Would you pay a subscription for £311 for whatever it is a month? You have to think about it like that. Obviously, if you genuinely need a car, you have to eat the cost up front. You just have to eat it. You have no options, but it is very expensive. And you can see very quickly how a car can tank your finances, especially in the UK.
How the fuck are you guys paying $2,000 a month for cars? That Civic right there. It's a fucking.
It's a nice car, by the way.
18. It had 76K on it when I bought it. I paid $300 a month for that.
It's not too bad.
What are you guys buying?
Mercedes, Audi, BMW. Some of these comments, bro, some of these comments are absolutely hilarious. So let's take a look at this. So this woman here comments, it's called both having good jobs. Okay, cool flex, I guess. Weird flex. And then this guy says him and his fiance earn 120k a year together, which is a pretty good salary. That's 60k each on average. So he's making a good amount of money. That doesn't, so yeah, not really a flex. I mean, people think because they earn more money, they should upgrade their lifestyle like we touched on. Not a good idea. Some people live in a higher tax bracket. I mean, they might, but their lifestyle creeps up to that. But all in all, as we've seen here, there is some horrendous car payments going on, and I could probably make a video going on for 5 hours depicting all the terrible car payments on TikTok. There are so many people who are deep in negative equity, and we will have a look at that at some point. But yeah, just bear in mind when you buy a car, you do not need the new fanciest, shiniest thing. You do not need the most luxury brand, especially if you are struggling financially or you do not have the money to buy it. I think a good rule is if you couldn't buy the car twice, you shouldn't buy the car, right? That's a rule people use. I know people are financially struggling and they may need a car, but you may just have to compromise for a bit and buy a cheaper secondhand, maybe just daily driver to get you through until you can afford something better, right? That is all I've got for you today. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.